Hello and welcome to Making the World More Active, the My Move podcast. And this week, not that this goes out weekly, but it should do. But anyway, this week, it's a pleasure to have Ben Anderson with us, someone who I have grown to have the utmost respect for in his practice and in his thinking and in his company. As a rule of thumb, I don't do other people's intros. So Ben, welcome. Thanks for giving up your time on. We're recording this on Friday after school. So really grateful and welcome. And for people who might not know who you are, over to you for your intro.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks for inviting me on. As you said, I've known you for many years now, but I'm Ben. I'm currently a head of PE at Arco Academy, which is an alternative provision in South London, Camberwell. But a bit about me is my background is basically started from leisure, which is where I sort of got the sporting knowledge, apart from playing football myself as a kid. But I came from a sport background in leisure. Firstly as a lifeguard at 18 years old, and spent quite a few months just sitting there looking at water, people swimming up and down, the odd rescue every now and then, because somebody thought they could swim, jumped in the deep end, and you've got to go in there and save them. And I realised very quickly that I didn't particularly want to be sitting there staring at water, and I sort of then climbed the ladder. I did a lot of management work as a duty manager, and then moved on to other leisure centres as an operations manager, which is where I sort of started getting my teaching sort of education from. So I became a qualified lifeguard teacher, so I would train and teach people to become lifeguards, as well as teaching them first aid. As the operations manager, I would have to train all new staff that come through the building on how the day-to-day running happened, and delivered all the health and safety. And I spent nearly 9 years in leisure, working across a number of leisure centres across East London predominantly, and finished my career in leisure at York Hall Leisure Centre, the famous York Hall, with the boxing, helped run many of the events there as well. And I just fell out of love with it, and I got a little bit bored with the same routine over and over again. And because I'd gone into management, I wasn't face to face with the public, which is what I really enjoyed about leisure, meeting new people every day and being able to have conversations and help them on their journeys, whether it is with swim teaching, whether it's with working in the gym, whether it's just having a chat about their health and well-being. So I quit that, and I went to become a teaching assistant, funnily enough, at my old primary school. So I went back to my old primary school, South Grove Primary School in Walthamstow, and that was very strange, walking in on that first day into the staff room, which was always that taboo place as a child. You was only sent to the staff room at lunchtime if you was really naughty. But yeah, sitting alongside teachers that actually taught me, and that was very weird. But because of my sporting background, the teachers used me very quickly to deliver PE lessons for them. And at the same time, I was delivering football coaching to local teams. One was Salam Peace. I worked with a community group called Salam Peace, where we delivered lots of outreach programs to young disadvantaged children across the Walthamstow and Hackney. And then I moved on to Loas Football Club and then Ridgeway Rovers Football Club, which is a really famous club It's where David Beckham started his career, as well as Harry Kane. So yeah, I was doing lots of football coaching. So I started to really see that I could deliver PE sessions to these children and really see the impact that I was giving them. You know, and we'll probably have a little bit of a chat about it later. And it wasn't until later on in my education as becoming a PE teacher that I realized that teachers didn't really have a clue, which is when they see somebody come around that had a sporting background, it was like gold dust to them, you know. And then I got an opportunity from Southgrove to move to Hillyfield Primary School, which is an academy in Walthamstow as well, which, you know, it was a big move because it was a 7th form entry primary school, you know, over 2 sites. They were completing the building of the new sports hall at one of the sites, and there was lots of work going on there, and becoming part of a big PE team. It was the first time that I was part of a team dedicated to delivering physical education and physical activity. You know, we had PE teachers, dance teachers, you know, and then I really started to find my craft in that, where I was delivering PE from nursery up to year 6. When I was at Southgrove, I just did Key Stage 2. I was year 5 and 6 TA, worked alongside those. And those were some scary moments, you know, going from teaching year 6 to little reception children. You know, it was very, very difficult at times to really get my head around. However, it is probably now my most favorite place. If I ever went to a school, that's the place that I would like to go. I did 6 years at Hillyfield, really developed myself there. I did my level 5 primary PE specialism review at Southbank University, and then moved on to Kingston University to complete my PISA degree, which is very, very close. And I did 6 years and realized that I needed to progress, and I needed to, basically, I wanted to have my own department. I had all these ideas that I've learned over the past sort of 6 to 8 years, and really wanted to start, had a real thinking of what I wanted a curriculum to look like. So I took a job, which was really crazy. I always said I wouldn't teach secondary school students. I wanted to stay in primary and really specialize in early years. But I wanted to come out of my comfort zone and see what else I could do. And I went, the biggest coming out of my comfort zone was moving to a pupil referral unit that only delivered Key Stage 4. So I was working with year 10 and 11 students who basically were told that that's the end of the road. And I worked with them for a whole term, from the September to the December. It didn't really sit right with me with values at times. It was a challenging role at times, and it wasn't a permanent position. So I had to look on, and I went to an SEN school called Serenity School in Eltham. Same thing with that, didn't really fit with me. And then I got given a really great opportunity with where I am now at Arco Academy, an alternative provision, head of PE, where I'm able to really provide a platform for students to create meaningful experiences with PE and physical activity, and really they understand where I'm coming from, and have given me this platform to be able to be free and deliver a curriculum. So yeah, that's my journey so far, and you know, I'm really looking to help really build Arco Academy to a great place that it can be.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and what a varied career. And you know, there's lots of different ways into this profession. And you know, first, just to acknowledge that, as you said, you went to do the PE sport and activity degree that I wrote at Kingston, and one thing I took away from those few years, 3 years, 4 years of running that degree was the utmost respect for the students, including yourself, because that is one hard way of graduating. And even though Kingston was really serious about widening participation, and that degree was part of that bigger jigsaw, but it was after school from 5 till 9, and that 8 till 9 after a day at work, that is seriously tough, and then getting the assignments in. So yeah, big kudos to you and your fellow students for choosing that route. And when I look back on the, I guess, really privileged sort of traditional undergraduate route that I took, where you think you're really busy, but it's nothing compared to people like you and your peers who got a job to hold down, invariably got other commitments, other roles, whether that be coaching, lots of people with family commitments, and getting a degree through that way is a serious undertaking. How have you coped? It's not been the most linear route, but you're going to get it over the line, and you're probably going to graduate with a good degree. So yeah, it was tough teaching on it. How did you find it learning on
it? Again, everybody that came into the degree had never been to university before, and to have to get to grips with, and even some hadn't even gone through college, like myself. I'd left school at 16 with some GCSEs, but went straight into work. So the last time I actually did any type of education, I was 16. I started the degree when I was 31 years old. And yeah, it was tough. The reading, trying to really understand academic writing, and then having to write it yourself, referencing is still an issue at times, but it's really widened my thinking around everything. When I look at things, the way that I analyze it critically, myself, my work, the people around me, it's really broadened how I can have a conversation with people and read into things. Although it's been tough, it's probably one of the best things I've ever done with regards to my life and my career. The journey that it's taken me on and got to where I am now. I don't think I would have been able to have done it, without firstly the initial impact of yourself on the level 5 AFPE course for the primary specialism, and then sort of giving me a chance to go on to the degree has been, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was tough, and but like you say, from a tutor's perspective, I think it was up there with one of the most rewarding parts of my professional life as well. So, and it was really nice working with our older undergrads. As you say, there was no one in the traditional undergrad age group. So I think the average age was in the sort of early 30s, and so yeah, building those relationships I'll cherish for a very long time. And it's nice when the students, you can have better conversations, deeper conversations, understanding their world more, and really cherish that part of the job. Without getting even more sentimental, switch of tack. You mentioned, and I never knew actually. Well, I never really thought about it. I knew you were a lifeguard for a number of years, but you mentioned you carried out a few rescues. So it's really topical at the moment. I don't know if you saw in the artistic swimming in the World Championship 2 days ago. One of the swimmers fainted and had to be rescued from bottom of the pool. So, how many rescues did you carry out?
6 in total.
No way! Yeah. Seriously?
Yeah. Four adults and 2 children.
And they were in a bad way, or false alarm, or?
CPR twice.
Oh, wow.
You know, thankfully, all of the 6 that I've ever rescued are all survived and they're okay.
Wow.
But yeah, one of them was a heart attack in the water.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we had to pull them out. Sort of an eldest gentleman. The children were the scariest ones. In fact, the first rescue was a child during a swimming lesson. He was doing backstroke. Funny enough, I literally had this conversation with someone the other day. But yeah, he was holding a float on his front, swimming backwards, and then let go of the float as he got to the deep end and just went to the bottom of the pool. Trying to kick his legs, but he just sort of wasn't swimming. The swim teacher was looking at me going, I popped the pole out. You've done all my normal rescue. Put my pole out for the child to hold on to, and he wasn't holding it. And one of the swim teachers just looked at me and he went, "You're gonna have to go in." And the adrenaline just kicks in. Hit the alarm, blow your whistles, tell everybody to clear the pool, dive in, pull them out. And I will never forget the feeling of as I brought the child up. Didn't go unconscious, was okay, just a little bit of coughing and stuff. But the whole swimming pool was stopped, looked at me, and just gave me a round of applause. And it was a bit of a buzz at that time. The scariest ones are the spinal injuries. I worked at Pool and Track, which has got a diving board, and one of during one of the diving lessons, it was a young girl. She was probably 11 or 12. She was practicing some somersault dives. She did like a double somersault, but landed on her back straight on the water and just let out a great cry and couldn't move. And when you have to, it's not like Baywatch where you dive in and just grab them and pull them out. There's specific techniques that need to be done to hold them, to keep them straight, so you're not doing any damage to their spine. That was scary.
Wow. And requires serious skill. But one of the things I've always been aware of working with you, and remember, at university, it was always very evident that you are a bit of an encyclopedia when it comes to health and safety, which doesn't always get like the best press. It gets mocked a bit, what is health. But you must have picked up so much in those formative work years that that holds you in good stead in your current roles and the roles post leisure. So apart from the actual core content around what you're teaching, the quote unquote subject matter stuff, what other sort of skills, competencies, abilities, knowledge do you think you've got during those years that you do draw upon?
I think it sort of comes from when I can sort of risk assess very quickly. And that even goes down to the students. So it sort of comes into sort of like lesson planning. I can see a child, see what they're doing and assess any sort of risk that's going to happen. And you're able to sort of change what's happening in the lesson and the environment. And, one of the things that I always talk about with regards to my teaching is that I'm creating a safe environment. So whether that's assessing any risks and eliminating that so the students are safe, we also talk about, their journey on it. But like Arco Leisure Centre, Arco Academy itself is based in a leisure centre. So as soon as I walked in, I was like, wow, I'm in heaven. I'm my old career, my new career put together, and I'm able to sort of walk around and instill that knowledge into the students. They're able to see a better sort of understanding of life and things around them and what health and safety is, rather than having to really do it in real life and have to get them hurt themselves or anything like that. So, even when it comes to swimming, when I first started at Arco, they were doing swimming lessons at the swimming pool, and I'm able to walk on poolside, and it's silly things like I can tell what the pH level in the water is because I can taste it or I can feel it in my eyes, and I can smell it. I can already sense what a child is going to do when they get in the water just by their confidence as they walk out the changing room. And it's then being able to then, how do I deal with that? Speak with the children. It's just little things like that, and it's held me in good stead. I'm now in charge of health and safety at Arco. Literally completed another health and safety course yesterday. Um, you know, because it's something it's always going to be with me, even when I take my own family swimming and things like that. I can get into the pool, and I sometimes I get told off. You don't do that no more, Ben. You're not a lifeguard or anything, or you don't work in leisure, but it's a natural instinct now. I can walk into a leisure centre or into a swimming pool or to the beach, and the first thing I'm doing is pointing out hazards and looking at things, and so it can be good sometimes, but yeah.
Excellent. And I had the pleasure of coming a couple of times to Hillerfield, and one of the things that was most striking, and I remember a couple of incidents where this really came to the fore. I remember you talking at university about that you knew every kid, and I was like, yeah, okay, all right, we'd accept that, all right. But when I saw kids literally filing past you, going into lunch, I think they were, I think they were reception in year one, and there was a few class, as you said, it was a big school, so it was class after class. And I think you pulled from our conversation and just literally said hello to every child by name. And I remember having a brief conversation with you at the time, but it was really striking. So, where does that come from? One, like, how do you invest so much in getting to know each kid, let alone remembering all of their names? Did you teach every child? It was you yourself taught them.
I taught every single child from nursery to year 6.
So that was obviously a really important. That was a really important thing for you. You invested your time and energy. So just like, if you wouldn't mind, share any tips you have or where that came from.
So for me, as a teacher, and I always go back to the fact that I don't see myself as a teacher. I facilitate their journeys. Is how I say it. Okay. We work together, and the only way you can work together is to build personal relationships with the students. If you don't know your children, then you're not going to get the best out of them. I always use analogies that people use in football, where the manager, you've got some players that need an arm around them and some that really need a bit of a rollicking to get the best out of them. And I sort of did that with the children, where if I didn't have that personal relationship with them, I won't get what I want from them, or they won't get what they need from me. So I just made it a mission. It took me probably 1 whole year to get all of their names. And then it's a case of, I always made it a point, the first few weeks, I always made sure that I worked in nursery and reception to learn all of those new students' names. And then we just went from there. So I already knew them. And to do that, you have to be a part of the community. I've always been big on community. I've lived and worked in my community for a very long time. Even in my leisure days, my first leisure centre was in Walthamstow. So, friends and family and stuff would be around. You then meet school teachers and stuff that way. And that gave me a good thing where when I took my students swimming, I knew the staff. So it's about building relationships. And the key thing for me was always being in the playground. Before school started, being on the gate or present around the playground to greet children, to greet parents, have conversations, and at the end of the day. be around, be present, and be available to speak to people, to discuss whatever it is they needed to discuss, whether it was their child's progress in PE or whether it was just a general chat on how their child's getting on in school, outside of school. And that's how you build those relationships. And, you know, I do pride myself in knowing every single child's name and being able to have those unique conversations. You then are able to design lessons. If you know a certain child and they like a certain thing or there's a certain craze going around, you create lessons. It then becomes relatable to them. They buy into it, and then you've won. You've got them, you've hooked them, and then you can just really get the best out of them from there.
I love that. It's again, there's so much in that, and underpinning it is a real caring of primarily about the children, and about your place in the whole jigsaw of school life and community life.